What's up, YouTube fam? Here I am, guys, in the car. Didn't have time to go to the studio, but really felt like a video needed to be made. Honestly, guys, big news. President Trump was permanently banned from Twitter. I believe he was also indefinitely suspended from Facebook. And other conservative or right-leaning people were also banned from some of these big social media companies on Friday, yesterday. And then in addition to that, the alternative to Twitter, which is nowhere near Twitter's size and its scope, but Parler, which is known to be more of a conservative-leaning platform, even though the leader of Parler says that they're just an open forum for anybody, but conservatives have tended to flock there because of the crackdown from big tech, primarily on people that lean right. So they've gone to Parler, more of an open forum. Parler is now being targeted by Google. Google Play removed them from their app store because they said that they were allowing incitement of violence to be on the platform. Apple threatened to take down Parler from their app store. Amazon, which is where their server is based, was making some threats that maybe that's not going to be able to continue. And so anyways, guys, I wanted to make this video. This is incredibly concerning. I mean, incredibly concerning, guys. This is unprecedented. The fact that the current sitting president of the United States was banned permanently from a platform that is his primary way of communicating directly to the people because 9 people got in a room and had a meeting together and felt like it was the right thing to do in the moment is freaky. Okay, it's freaky. And the reason why it's freaky is, and it has nothing, by the way, to do whether or not you agree with President Trump is not the issue here. Okay, the thing about cracking down on speech, the thing about censorship is it never stops where it is. It always keeps going. And so even if you justify, well, President Trump deserved it, or even if you justify and you feel like there was good reason for it, it doesn't stop there. It just continues on. And eventually it'll come for you too. That's the bottom line. It'll come for you. It'll come for me. And, President Trump, whether people like him or not, he was elected president in 2016 and still until inauguration day is the president, or until Joe Biden enters in office is the president. And so my question would be to these big tech companies that are making the decision to silence the president of the United States. My question to them would be, who elected you? See, because President Trump got into office because in 2016, 50 plus Americans voted for him to be their leader. Yet, again, 9 people in a room get together and make a decision to silence the president from communicating, at least from communicating in the most, the way that he does the most and the most direct way. And I think he has like 89 million followers on Twitter. For them to make that decision it's terrible for free speech. Again, in my opinion, it's a horrible precedent to set. It is a concerning day for America. Yesterday was, Friday is when this happened. And I'm concerned moving forward, because if we know anything, what we should do is to understand where we are now is look back in history, because history tends to repeat itself. And again, censorship, cracking down on speech you don't like, tends to continue on and on. It does not stop. People never settle for just this last person. That just keeps going, and the Overton window gets smaller and smaller, and accepted ideas get smaller and smaller until the only people that are allowed to speak are people that directly agree with the majority. And that's when you have real uproars that start to happen. That's when you have real violent resistances that start to come, is when people feel like they're being censored and shut down and that they're not allowed to have a seat at the table to have a conversation. And again, I'm not talking about, guys, whether or not President Trump was saying the right things or doing the right things. There were ways that he handled this past week in responses to things that I was not a fan of at all. He called Mike Pence, I think, weak. Because he was saying Mike Pence wasn't going to stand up and vote against the Electoral College votes that were cast or something like that. I thought that was a terrible tweet. I thought that when it was time to de-escalate the situation, I thought that in some ways he escalated it or elevated it higher, the temperature. But then, of course, he did come out with that video saying that he completely condemned everybody that broke into the Capitol and etc. But And so my policy, by the way, is this. I don't hold people responsible for something they're not calling for. And so in the same way, years ago with Bernie Sanders at the congressional baseball hearing, when a Bernie Sanders supporter went there and shot congressmen that were Republican and one almost died, I do not hold Bernie Sanders responsible for what that shooter did, because even though Bernie Sanders, was he elevating the temperature up? Yes, he was, by saying that, the system's corrupt, the whole thing's rigged, that politicians are corrupt and they're just being bought off by big corporations. Of course, he's elevating the temperature, but I don't hold him responsible for the shooter shooting those people, because he didn't call for that. In the same way, I don't hold President Trump responsible for the people storming into the Capitol, although I do hold him responsible when they started storming in for not as quickly denouncing it and being as clear about it. But even though it wasn't as quick as I would like, he did come out and condemn it. And he did, and very clearly. It wasn't a soft condemnation. You can see the video. It was, look it up. It was a video where he very clearly condemned them on Twitter, by the way. He condemned them on Twitter in a video and said that those people that were breaking in, they deserve to go to jail. They will be held responsible. They will be held accountable. Violence is unacceptable. He also said that he is going to allow a peaceful transition to start with Joe Biden, which is the right move. He went through the legal processes. It didn't pan out the way that he was hoping. And according to the courts, they didn't find enough evidence to overturn the results. And so a peaceful transition is what should happen. And he said that he will do that. And so anyway, guys, again, this video, the lighting's terrible. I know it's not a great quality video, guys, but I did want to come on here and say really just how concerned I am personally by the precedent that has been set here by banning, again, the sitting president of the United States from Twitter. Some people, by the way, are making the argument that the only reason he was banned was because he was inciting violence. A few things. I have a few thoughts about that. Number one, again, he did not directly call for any violence. I do hold him responsible for elevating the temperature, but I don't hold him responsible for the violence that broke out, and especially because he came out and condemned it at a certain point and condemned it very strongly. The second thing is, I think we would all be living in a false reality if we pretended that if the exact same comments were made by either Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, that Twitter would even consider banning them, right? There were many politicians during the riots that were happening last summer in Portland and a lot of the Black Lives Matter stuff that came out and were absolutely elevating the temperature, and we're not coming out very clearly and denouncing these riots and saying, hey guys, you must stop doing violence. Everyone needs to be held accountable. There were plenty of politicians and leaders that came out and were justifying these riots, and Twitter, you don't see Twitter cracking down on them. And so my issue is not even as much Twitter taking some authority in some ways. They are a private company. Even if I disagree, they're allowed to do it. My issue is the lack of transparency that they pretend in their guidelines to be neutral and fair and balanced when it's obvious that they're not. It's just plain and simple. It's just a false reality that you live in if you think that they would react the same way if it were people on the left that agreed with them ideologically by banning them permanently. The evidence is just there. They don't react that way, period. And that's because I think in their minds as big tech, the leaders and the people that work at these big tech companies who ideologically lean really far left, they view people that are Democrats and on the left as their allies, and they view people that are conservative and on the right as the opposition, as the people that they need to overcome, or the people that they need to convert to their side. And so once you look at somebody as the enemy and you're looking through everything everything that you see them with is through the lens of the fact that they're your enemy, all of a sudden you treat them differently, right? There's no doubt about it. And whoever you look at through the lens of they're your friend, you treat them differently. And that's how they view conservatives as the enemy and liberals or people on the left as the allies or the friends. And so again, you can be a Democrat, by the way. You may be watching this and maybe you're as far left of a Democrat as they come. And I think this is a partisan issue. Freedom of speech is something that for hundreds of years, Americans, both on the right and left, have agreed that that is what makes America special, is that many countries, when people have bad ideas, they move on shutting down those bad ideas, or they move towards shutting down those ideas that they disagree with. But part of what makes America incredible is that we have the freedom to say things, whether they're right or wrong, whether they're smart or whether they're stupid. We have the freedom to say these things. And I really believe the key to combating bad ideas is not by shutting them down. It's by giving those people a microphone. Let them yell their bad ideas out and let it be shown to everyone around how bad these ideas are. Let a discussion happen. Let a debate happen. And the exception, of course, is if people are calling for violence specifically, right? Or I'm not talking about shouting fire in a crowded theater, and things like that. But outside of those type of things, which again, President Trump was not calling for the invasion of the Capitol building any more than people on the left last summer were calling for the riots for the Black Lives Matter movement and etc. It was not like he directly was calling for those acts, similarly to how the people on the left were not directly calling for the riots for the most part last year either, but they weren't coming against it very strongly either. And President Trump didn't come against it as strongly as I think he should have at first, but he did eventually. But clearly there's bias. It does. And I'm anti-conspiracy guy. Personally, I just don't enjoy conspiracy theories. I'm not a fan of conspiracy theories. Yeah, I don't like going down trails that there's no destination that you can arrive at. And so this to me is not some conspiracy out there. It's very clear and evident that they are more strict on people that disagree with them, which are the people on the political right. And the precedent that has been set by permanently banning the sitting president and coming after the app Parler, which is an open forum, is concerning to me. It puts a chill down my spine, honestly, because if they're willing to take down the president from Twitter, who has 89 million followers, how much more are they going to be willing to, in 5 years, take you or me down from these platforms and remove us or shut us down because they disagree with what we're saying? And we shouldn't have to worry about being censored and shut down if the big tech people who are supposed to apparently know way more than all of us, and they're some gurus that are so much smarter than us, just because they disagree with us, we shouldn't have to worry about that. But as a small YouTube creator, I will say, and I mean very small, I'm not a big YouTube creator at all, but as a small YouTube creator, I will say that I am aware of that when I'm posting videos, that there's some videos that when I type in a title in a certain way, they get less traction, or they will get less traction, because YouTube will slow down the recommendations because it's a title that they are not excited about. And it's, in my opinion, it should not be so. Let people say what they want to say. If they're not directly calling for violence, or if they're not saying things like shouting fire in a crowded theater, let people speak and let them say their good ideas, let them say their bad ideas, and let people trust that individuals are not stupid. And there's some people that are going to be convinced of anything, right? But that's what makes America special. That's what makes America set apart from the rest of the world, is that we do have the freedom to say what we believe. We have the freedom to stand up and declare things that are maybe stupid, maybe wrong, but it's our freedom to do so. And it's what makes America special. It's what makes America great. And it's hopefully what will continue to make America great. And so anyway, guys, God bless you all. I appreciate you guys. I know, again, super informal, just me ranting a little bit. Listen, guys, during this rant, I just spent the last 14 minutes just speaking off the top of my mind, which means that there are probably things that even when I watch this video back, I'll look back and think, I could have presented that differently, or I could have presented that better. Do me a favor, guys, have some grace and give me the benefit of the doubt here, okay? Assume that if I said something that's ridiculous, that I probably would have rephrased it if I had the opportunity to. But whether or not you guys agree with me or disagree with me, guys, let me know in the comments. I want to have this conversation with you guys, probably more than any other video I've made, actually. I want to have a conversation. I want to know, what do you guys think? Is this a big deal to you? Do you think this is not a big deal? And I'd love to know what your guys' thoughts are on this particular topic. So anyway, peace out, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys at the next Jonathan Dearman Show. See you there.